What was the weirdest thing you saw on someone else's phone or computer? I worked on IT while I was studying. We gave support to several small and medium-sized companies. One day the secretary of a client company called because she had trouble with her keyboard. Went there, changed the keyboard on her desktop, and she said that her personal laptop was really slow and asked me to check the laptop as a favor and that she will pay me for that now. She was a small, kinda shy woman on her early 30s, just married. We were not friends, but we talked a little bit from time to time when I was there. That night at home I checked her laptop and it had a lot of malware and several useless startup programs and a really fragmented HD. While I was fixing all that I found a lot, and I mean it was a 1/3 of the hard drive space, of hardcore lesbian porn. We're talking about bondage, fisting, several fetish, female domination. I said nothing, fixed everything, changed her antivirus and installed some free anti-malware software, got paid, and that's it. I once saw this man watch Captain America porn on the bus seat next to me. At 12 p.m. He didn't even seem aroused or anything, he just watched it out of pure intrigue. Sometimes it's just your patriotic duty. Long time ago, was still in high school. This really weird kid sat in front of me in computer science class. He was a Jehovah's Witness, tucked his jeans into his boots, and spoke really condescendingly to almost everyone, teachers included, especially if there was any holiday theme to any assignment. So when we had to write a program that had something to do with Halloween or Christmas, he would say something snarky and just leave the class. Also, he always wore those weird t-shirts with like extravagant paintings of leopards and tigers on cliffsides or wolves howling at the moon. Weird kid. So one day the class was about to end, and I looked over my monitor and saw that he was scanning through still frames from the original Lion King movie and smiling. Just still images from random scenes throughout the movie. When I asked what he was looking at, he closed them frantically and began closing windows, which I then realized he had saved all of these images on his personal drive for school. I had seen kids the same age do the exact same thing with porn that this kid did with pictures from the Lion King. On the bus, the person sitting in front of me scrolled by a man hanging from the ceiling by his testicles on his camera roll. Classic. When I was about 12 or 13 I basically inherited my dad's old phone as he bought a new one. It was one of the first smartphones that had Wi-Fi and all that. So, my teen ass was downloading photos of bands on it, and when I went to the image folder I found a really nasty picture of an orgy that my dad had forgotten. Now, this is odd because my father was a pastor in a church at the time and always reminded that porn, sex and homosexuality are a sin. Several years later I found more freaky porn on his laptop. I never mentioned it to him, but it might be a good card to play if I need to. I had this weird friend in my boarding school. One time, he showed me a picture and it accidentally switched to a picture of Kim Jong-un. I said, haha, why do you have that on your phone? He laughed and showed me a folder with 200 pictures of Kim Jong-un in various situations. See, that's him fishing. Oh, and that's him delivering a speech. This one is him in his office. He described every picture for a solid 5 minutes until I changed the subject. I worked in a mobile phone store. Was troubleshooting a customer's phone when she got a picture message from her slave in the nude, with cable ties around his balls. She just smiled and told me to finish fixing her phone or I'd be next. Did you slow down? Back when I was in high school, I used to take a bus to get to college and back. Once, I was sitting next to a man in his 50s who seemed really sweet and even smiled at me when I spotted an empty seat next to him and went to claim it. I noticed that he was reading something on his phone as I sat down. I generally don't look into other people's phones, but he had his phone way out on his right side, almost on my lap, so I couldn't help but look into it. I could make out small bits and pieces like position, caress the spine smoothly, etc., which didn't make sense to me yet. About 10 minutes later, he began shifting in this seat and slouched over front and left, veering to the window. I noticed this because his movements were abrupt and almost jerked me off my seat as his arms flailed. He had his earphones on and I thought that he was going to watch a movie or something. About a few minutes in, I could hear moans. Faint at first but gradually becoming louder. I began to look around to see if somebody was playing pranks. Nobody was. But they were all staring at me. I had no idea what was going on. Then I turned to the man next to me and I realized what was happening. The man had plugged his earphones alright, but the jack hadn't gone all the way in. He couldn't hear anything, so he had been increasing the volume, oblivious to the fact that everybody around him could hear the sounds except him. When he realized what was happening, he didn't say a word and got down at the next stop. A friend was showing me shots on her phone of some artwork she had done. She scrolls past and lands on photos obviously meant for her boyfriend. I looked away sharp while she buried the phone in her chest with that awkward oh-shut stare. Now, I'm not sure, but I'm almost 80% certain that there were stuffed toys and a cucumber involved. I claimed that I didn't see anything, and as soon as I saw it was something risque on the top half, I looked away too quick to really see it. But you know that thing where the brain knows full well what it saw? Yeah, that. My friend was showing me pictures of the aftermath of a car crash he was in. Then he flicked one picture too many and there was his rock hard cock. Well duh. Who wants to see a limp dick? My friend was showing me and a couple of our other friends something on Google and he had frickin' werewolf porn bookmarked on the front page. One time my cousin booted up his laptop and forgot to close his porn before shutting down, and my whole family saw the downright hairiest, fattest vagina we'd ever seen. And hopefully will ever see. It was huge and full screen. We didn't speak for a while. When I was fat, I had a terrible job that I hated. Didn't know why they hired me, didn't seem to need me. 1 year in I see my boss's YouTube history, all fat fetish videos. I was in chemistry class and the girl next to me had a picture of me sleeping as her lock screen. I don't know how she got the picture. I was on a packed tram the other week. We were all crammed in like sardines and I was pressed up against a chap in his 50s or 60s. He was pretty short so I could see over his shoulder to his phone. He was holding quite close to his face as it seemed he had rather bad eyesight. This is how I got to read numerous explicit messages to considerably younger men on Grindr and Scruff. There were lots of them. Apparently daddy got game. More creepy than weird, but I was standing in the aisle of the train home and people don't realize you can see their screens, especially standing at 6 feet 4 inches. I try not to be nosy but sometimes you can't help it. Anyway, this time in the seat in front of me was man who looked to be in his 50s-60s and he was on Facebook. As the journey continues he goes to this young girl's profile and starts studying her pictures. She must have been 14 or 15 and this guy was inspecting her pictures like he was looking for Wally. Zooming in on specific parts of images of this girl in her school uniform, examining her photos like CSI. It was really creepy, creeped me out for days. My ex came home from a bike ride and had his earphones in. I said hi and he took the earphones out. When I gave him a hug, hello, I could hear porn sounds. I asked what it was and it turns out he dripped the audio from porn and was going on long cycles listening to it. So weird. He also carried porn mags in his bag and spent a lot of time on the roof garden. A woman across from there was convinced he was wanking at her. I've got to wonder if she was right or just kept catching him listening to his porn audio and looking at his mags. Back when me and a friend were just turned 16, he got a girlfriend aged 14, nearly 15. Nothing dodgy, both of them still essentially kids. But this was the time when camera phones were becoming a thing. So she sent him nudes of her and masturbation shots, which he naturally showed me. I was like, well, hot, but she's your missus, you shouldn't show me. Again, to stress at this point there's a year difference. Anyways, fast forward, we're both 18 or 19, haven't seen each other in over a year and we bumped into each other. We started chatting about old times while having a drink. He mentions her and how nothing ever came about it, they never slept together or anything. He then pulls out his new phone and starts giggling and shows me what he's giggling at. There on his phones are the old images he was given. He had X-fed them onto his new phone. Needless to say, I choked on my drink. I tried to explain that it didn't matter at the time they were dating. He can't, as a 18-year-old man, have a 14 or 15-year-old fingering snaps on his phone. It doesn't matter, you were nearly the same age at the time. He literally could not understand it. Needless to say, I made some more small talk and left not long after. Not seen him since. I was in biology class and there was a girl sitting in front of me. She had her laptop open and was watching the emoji movie. That's all for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. If you liked the video, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is simply watch the videos. But if you really want to see the channel thrive, subscribe, like, comment, add to favorites, add to playlist, and share with friends. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Reddit and Insta. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you with tomorrow's upload.